Hey guys, welcome to another video. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I'll be talking about the 5 things that you can do if you're starting out as an immigrant in the United States. On this channel, we talk about finance and investing, and the goal is to inform and educate as many people as I can. Now, the first thing I want to establish is this. Most of the things I'll be sharing all depend on where you are in your journey. The goal here is to try to work on these things over time. I know that there are a lot of factors that will determine what steps you would take depending on your immigration status, depending on your background, depending on how much money you have, and most importantly, depending on where you are in your journey. One thing I want to set straight is don't compare yourself with some other person. Everyone's journey will always be different. The other thing I would like to establish right away is, since I may mention things about immigration and accounts and things of that nature, I would always say you meet with a financial advisor that can always guide you better. Now, the first thing I would do as an immigrant in this country, if I'm starting again, is of course, you open an account. Now, the reason why you need an account is for your day-to-day transactions. You definitely need to register to have an account that is registered to you. Now, preferably you want to open a savings account first, and of course, a checking account as well. Lately, interest has been going up, which has its good side and its bad side. The benefit of this is twofold. The first one is that you're fighting inflation. The second thing is that your savings account will start getting better interest rates on them. A lot of immigrants sometimes will come with a lot of money, and the goal here is to preserve your money to last you for your education, to last you for your living expenses and things of that nature. The goal here is to put that money in a high yield savings account. You want to preserve that money and try to hedge against inflation. Now, of course, inflation is still pretty high right now, and interest rates will continue to go up. But at least that's the first step you can take. I would always recommend high yield savings account, certificate of deposits. You can always do 6 months of certificate of deposit because you generally have higher interest rates. Since we're talking about savings account and checking accounts, the next step I'm going to recommend, which is my number 2, is to open a secured credit card. As an immigrant, you do not have any credit history. Most banks will not give you an unsecured credit card because they don't know if you're going to be able to repay. So what you want to do right away is preferably you get a secured credit card, which pretty much requires you to put down a certain amount of money to secure that credit card just in case you default, and that way the bank can recoup their money. But the reason why you're doing this is to start establishing credit. It's very important that you establish this early because it takes time to build, and it requires that consistent either repayment or consistent usage of that credit card. And of course, I would emphasize, you have to always make sure that you repay this credit card, preferably to 0 every month, to keep the utilization ratio very low and to make sure that your credit history is in good standing. By the way, if you're finding value in this video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section below what you agree or you disagree with. Everyone's situation will be different, and if you have questions, feel free to ask below. The third thing I would consider is to invest in education or a skill. Now, the reason why this is important is because this is how you can then continue to build that financial stability that we all want in the future. It is very important not to pursue the money early on. The reason is because what you're trying to do now is to equip yourself with either an education or a skill. Try to do something that you already have some knowledge about, then pursue something in that line, because it will give you less hurdles to get across. You don't have to start from the scratch. The goal here is to eliminate a lot of friction in the process so that you can get going as fast as you can. The next step here, which is step 4, is to then get a job in the field of study. If it's a skilled labor work, for example, then go into that and pursue it. If it's a form of education that you have acquired, then try to get a job in that area as well. What you're trying to establish right now is more of the ability to earn money so that you can start pursuing other things, all right? You can pursue other things because now you have a source of income. It's very important that that is established right away or as soon as you can. Let's assume that you have a skill that you can use to make some money. You use the money that you're making from that skilled job to pursue your education. And it can be the other way around. Let's assume that you have acquired a 4-year degree program and now you start working and you realize that you're not making enough money as you would really want and you prefer to pursue a skill. Then you use the money from that educational field that you've acquired to then support yourself in acquiring the skill. But you need that means of income first. At this point, I'm assuming that you're not buying anything expensive, you're not buying expensive clothes, shoes, cars, things of that nature. The last step in this video is to get an FHA loan to buy a house. It is very important. The reason is because if you have your place, the first thing is you're building equity in the house. That's one thing. The second thing is you would have an asset that you can start renting out. So for example, let's assume that you have a 3-bedroom house that you can secure. You can rent out 2 rooms and start collecting rent, right? The other thing you can do is Airbnb. That's something you can do and start making some money on it. This will do 2 things for you. First, like I mentioned, the first thing is equity. The second thing, you are reducing your own expenses. And by reducing your expenses, because of the rent you're collecting or because of the money you're making from like an Airbnb, that would help you to be able to then pursue other things that would help you build solid financial stability in the long run. These are the 5 steps I would definitely recommend, and I would have done if I were to start again. Unfortunately, it took me a long time to get some of this in process, but again, everyone's journey is always going to be different. I hope you have found value in this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below. I look forward to seeing you in my next one.